Every 2 weeks or so, I do an AMA on my Instagram page. Besides all the price predictions, shitcoin suggestions, and personal questions, one of the most common queries I get is how I manage to keep up with the crypto market and create so much content. As with all great mysteries, the answer is often devilishly simple, and in this case, it's my daily routine. I believe that having a robust daily regimen is the key to success. In the context of cryptocurrency, this means being aware of everything going on at both the micro and macro level. It can be tedious at times, but when done properly, it can allow you to get ahead of any big trends in the crypto market and occasionally even get in early on massive price pumps for individual coins and tokens. So today I'm going to tell you about my daily routine from the moment I awake to the second I hit the hay, and how employing a similar routine in your personal life could bring you some serious crypto gains. Before I break down my daily grind, there's a disclaimer I need to feed to your mind. Nothing you hear, see, or smell during this video should be interpreted as investment or financial help. It's just one of the many resources you can use to help you in research, which you'd better be doing yourself. If you've stumbled across this channel by chance, my name is Guy and my knowledge of crypto is advanced. That's why I spend my days and nights creating some of the highest quality crypto content you can find. Coins, tokens, news, reviews, regulations, taxes, exchanges, and tutorials too. If this is what you're into, subscribing to the channel and pinging that notification bell is the right thing to do. Notice I've left a few timestamps in the timeline down there. You can use them to skip around, but watching the whole way through is only fair. So, now that we're on the same page, let me tell you how I stay on top of the crypto market from day to day. Every morning, my alarm goes off between 4 and 5 a.m, depending on how I was feeling the night before. Now, in contrast to just about everyone I know, I do not immediately check my phone. I'm not tempted to do so either, because I always keep it on airplane mode at night so there aren't any distracting notifications in the morning. Instead, the first thing I do in the morning is get out of bed, take a few deep breaths, and then meditate for around 20 minutes. As part of my meditation, I visualize everything I plan on achieving that day. Next, I exercise for about an hour to wake myself up. My preferred exercise is running, cycling, or even just walking if the weather permits, which isn't always the case here in London. Once that's done, I take a cold shower and chow down on a load of toast with a nice big cup of coffee. If I don't have breakfast, I'm a mess, so you'll never catch me skipping it. Then I'll finally open up my phone and computer and start looking at all of the emails and messages I've received overnight. I take note of any that could potentially affect my schedule. Now by this point, it's somewhere around 7 or 8 a.m, and that's when I head out to the Coin Bureau HQ. Depending on the day, I'll start shooting that day's video as soon as I arrive, using the materials we'd put together the day before. Believe it or not, this usually doesn't take longer than half an hour or so, but that doesn't count the hours of editing done by a brilliant man behind the scenes. After a quick table tennis break with the team, which I rarely win, I make a few TikToks with Macy, post on Instagram, and begin the most important part of my day, getting up to speed with the crypto market. The first thing I check is Google News, specifically the business and technology feeds. If you're wondering why, the answer is macro. What happens in the stock market can, and often does, have a huge impact on what happens in the crypto market. And what happens in the stock market is influenced by even larger economic trends. These larger economic trends can be anything from new inventions to politics to inflation to jobs to international relations and, of course, the current pandemic. Rather than get bogged down in the details, I try to keep an eye out for any articles that scream uncertainty. This is because uncertainty is one of the most important factors in investing. When the future is looking certain, this makes the average investor comfortable enough to take on additional risks. Given that cryptocurrencies are risky investments compared to the alternatives, a high degree of uncertainty means that we're unlikely to see large amounts of money move into crypto. Now, sometimes this uncertainty can be coming from stuff happening at the macro level, like new variants and tensions between countries. I have actually covered this global macro crypto narrative in greater detail in a previous video of mine, and that's linked to right up there for you to watch later at your leisure. However, at other times, crypto market uncertainty can come from developments that are more specific to the asset class in question. China's crackdown on crypto mining in May and the recent Binance ban by various banks and regulators are two examples of things which have caused large amounts of uncertainty in the crypto market. Unfortunately, most of the threats crypto faces overseas aren't picked up by Western media outlets until much later due to the language barrier. Now, I'll explain how you can get this info early on Twitter shortly. On that note, another reason why I check Google News first is because I sometimes find crypto-related news before it gets picked up by the crypto media. In case you didn't know, most of the articles you read on crypto news sites like Cointelegraph, CoinDesk, and Decrypt are essentially summaries of the longer mainstream media articles they reference. This means that if you see any news about cryptocurrency on Google News that the crypto media hasn't covered yet, you're probably one of the first people in crypto to know about it. This can let you get in early on an altcoin that's about to pump or sell your shitcoin stack if it's about to get wrecked by regulators. Now that said, Google News almost never gives you the full picture of what's going on in the crypto space, which is why my second stop is always Cointelegraph, CoinDesk, and Decrypt. Although these three sites are arguably the best for crypto news, it's wise to be aware of the fact that they all have their own biases when it comes to how they cover certain crypto projects. Whereas with Google News, I'm looking for signs of uncertainty in the market, on crypto news sites, I'm typically looking for any articles related to the cryptocurrencies I hold or plan on holding. Pro tip, ignore any articles about price predictions. I have yet to see one that's worth my time. Anyways, because I find CoinDesk and Decrypt's homepages to be a little tedious, I always head over to the News tab on Decrypt and do the same thing on CoinDesk to see everything in chronological order. On Cointelegraph, this setup is the default, and what's cool about Cointelegraph articles is that you can see how many people have viewed the article since it was published. This gives me a sense of how interested people are in certain cryptos or topics and helps guide my portfolio as well as my future video content. Another useful resource that helps me plan future videos is CoinMarketCal. No, that's not a typo. It's short for CoinMarketCalendar. If the name didn't give it away, CoinMarketCal details most of the upcoming updates, developments, and exchange listings for most cryptocurrencies. Because CoinMarketCal changes every day, I check it every day, and I always look at what's in store for the next 2 or 3 days. Although CoinMarketCal provides sources for any upcoming crypto milestones, because these can be added to the website by anyone, you often end up with a lot of stuff about meme coins that I quite frankly couldn't care less about. I'm mostly on the lookout for any information about cryptocurrency projects I follow, as well as any potentially promising updates from coins or tokens I've never heard of before. I have actually found a few promising altcoins thanks to CoinMarketCal, and it's one of the many useful crypto tools I detailed in a video you can find using the link in the top right. After I'm done checking the news and any upcoming crypto milestones, I take a look at a handful of sentiment analysis indicators and on-chain metrics. For sentiment analysis, I check the fear and greed indexes for the stock market and the crypto market on a daily basis, and the Google search trends for cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, and other altcoins every few days. Naturally, Google search trends provides a pretty clear picture of just how much interest there is in a cryptocurrency at any given time. The peak of the Google search trends for these terms have historically mirrored the previous tops, which is of course going to be useful once we start heading back in a bullish direction. However, because Google search trends only updates periodically, I use the fear and greed index indicators to get a better sense of how the market is feeling in the short term. These indicators are updated every day, and their short-term historical data helps give an idea of how much influence macro and micro world events could be having on the crypto market. As I mentioned in my video about sentiment analysis, the fear and greed index for the stock market is often a leading indicator for what we're about to see in the crypto market. Again, this is because cryptocurrencies are risky investments. If the stock market starts to see fear, chances are the crypto market will start to drop as nervous investors pull out of their riskiest investments, and that sell pressure translates to fear in the crypto market. As far as on-chain metrics go, the only ones I check on a daily basis are the amount of BTC held by whales and the amount of BTC held on exchanges. Both of these indicators can be found on Glassnode. If I can see that whales are continuing to accumulate BTC like they are now, it means that I can take any bearish articles I read earlier with a grain of salt. Similarly, if the amount of BTC on exchanges is falling in the long term, this supply squeeze will inevitably result in a price pump. In this case, it seems that BTC is moving onto exchanges in the short term, which explains the crash we saw at the beginning of last week. Now, if you're wondering which on-chain metrics I check less frequently, these are the Bitcoin Thermocap, Bitcoin Hodl Waves, and Nupal indicator, which can also be found on Glassnode. I believe that these three combined do a pretty good job of predicting market tops, but when we're nowhere near the top, there's not much point in checking them since their positions are pretty predictable. The next thing I check is social media, specifically Twitter, and of course, Reddit. In addition to spicy crypto memes, the r/cryptocurrency subreddit is one of the best places to go to gauge what the average crypto investor is feeling and thinking. If I'm lucky, I find a few threads which mention me and this channel, and if I'm super lucky, I find some constructive criticism that helps me improve my content. And hey, as Oscar Wilde said, the only thing worse than being talked about is not being talked about. Now this brings me to Twitter, which was one of the best places to keep up with the crypto market in real time. This, of course, all depends on who you're following. Now, I mentioned earlier that it takes time for foreign crypto news to make it across the pond, and the most relevant crypto news often comes from China. Luckily, there's a chap called Colin Wu who provides regular updates about any crypto-related stuff going on in China. Spoiler, it's usually a lot of FUD. Even so, Colin is often used as a source by the crypto media, which means following him can let you get ahead of any news that comes out before it officially hits the headlines. Another awesome Twitter personality to follow is Qi Zhongju, the CEO of CryptoQuant. Qi posts regularly about any important on-chain metrics for Bitcoin, which is not that surprising given that CryptoQuant is an on-chain metrics company. He is also frequently referenced by the crypto media. If you're looking for something more technical, Bob Loukas is probably your best bet. Now, Bob is a professional trader who popularized Bitcoin's 4-year cycle in 2019 when he made an in-depth video about it. This video actually came out a few months before Plan B's popular stock-to-flow model for Bitcoin, which also hinges on the 4-year cycle. You can watch my video about the stock-to-flow model using the link in the top right. Now, although Bob doesn't post too frequently on YouTube, he's fairly active on Twitter and gives some pretty valuable technical analysis insights into stocks, precious metals, and cryptocurrencies. The last crypto Twitter personality I'll mention today goes by the pseudonym TraderSZ, and he or she basically does the same thing as Bob Loukas on a shorter time frame. This means lots of technical analysis on stocks, precious metals, and cryptocurrencies. Now, I'll leave links to all of these guys in the video description if you want to follow them. The last things I check are the crypto market, my cryptocurrency portfolio, and the price charts for any cryptos of interest. This means any cryptos that caught my eye earlier, as well as any I noticed while looking at the leaderboards. Sometimes there are a few cryptos in my own portfolio that need price analysis attention too. Now, although both CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko provide the same information, I personally prefer using CoinMarketCap to examine the general health of the crypto market. I check to see how the trading volume compares to the day before and take note of the Bitcoin dominance, which seems to be more accurate on CoinMarketCap than CoinGecko. If I see that trading volume has dropped and Bitcoin dominance has risen, I take this as a sign that the market is bleeding more than CoinMarketCap is showing me. This is because CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko only periodically update their pricing data using the average of all trading pairs across the exchanges they track. As a result, the prices you see on these are not always accurate and can sometimes be far behind, especially if the market is volatile, which is often the case in cryptocurrency. After quickly looking at the largest gainers and losers of the day, I head on over to CoinGecko to check my portfolio with CoinGecko's portfolio tracking tool. Usually, there's not much to see here on the day-to-day, but sometimes I get a surprise or two. By this point, I have a handful of cryptos that I want to pop open the price charts for, so I head on over to Binance to see if they have any potential. The main thing I look for here are any strong trends on the daily chart, distance from the previous all-time high, as well as any indicators which suggest this coin or token is overbought or oversold. Because Binance doesn't always have the full price history for the cryptocurrencies I'm interested in, I'll often revert back to CoinMarketCap to get a bird's eye view of what's going on. If I see that we're far away from the top in a longer-term downtrend, that's a deal breaker for me, no matter how big the pump is looking in the short term. If I see that a cryptocurrency I read about hasn't pumped yet, even though there's been bullish news, I'll do some quick technical analysis and maybe throw in a few $dozen just to see if my price targets get hit. Now, these few $dozen usually come from some of the profits I take off any cryptocurrencies I hold that recently had blow-off tops. The rest of that dry powder typically goes back into a buy order for any coins or tokens I'm looking to buy or increase my exposure to. Now, if this all sounds Greek to you, I'll leave links to a few of my technical analysis tutorials in the video description. By the time I'm done with my portfolio adjustment shenanigans, it's time for lunch, which I often eat alone as the team here aren't always too keen on my talking about crypto while they're trying to eat. I don't usually check anything until the next day except my socials and Telegram channel. For the rest of the day, I do research and prepare some talking points for the next video. I'll also chat through things with some of the team here and bounce ideas off them if they'll let me. Now, if you want to know how I do my research, I happen to have a video about that too. It's up there in the top right. Now, full disclosure, sometimes a fair bit of this research time can be chewed up trying to make the disclaimer sections of my video as inventive as possible. It's funny how few things rhyme with the phrase, "I'm not a financial advisor." Anywho, I'm home by 8 and in bed by 9 to make sure I get enough rest to tackle the next crazy crypto day. Before I turn in, I like to read something totally unrelated to crypto. I find it helps me switch off, and I've always thought it's vital to try and expand one's knowledge in all directions. I'll read pretty much anything: history, biography, novels, you name it. At the moment, I'm reading a history of Britain, which has its fair share of excitements, I can tell you. You might have noticed that I sometimes take Fridays off from the office, but even then I'm usually taking calls and doing bits and pieces to help get ahead for the next week, or cooking up other crypto plans that I've yet to reveal. If you want to know what those are, well, you'll just have to stick around. So folks, now I want to hear from you. What's your daily routine like? And how do you stay on top of the crypto market? Let me know in the comments down below, and while you're at it, give that like button a click. Go on. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and be sure to ping that notification bell so you know when the next video is ready. In the meantime, you can follow me on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. You should also join my Telegram channel and subscribe to my weekly newsletter if your portfolio isn't going according to plan. In addition to seeing mine, you'll get all the tools, tips, and tricks you need to become a crypto mastermind. All that I ask for in return is that you check out my Coin Bureau merch store if you have any extra cash to burn. All the proceeds from those hoodies and tees go towards building up this channel at warp speed. You can find your way to all of these resources using the links in the video description. You can't miss them. That's all for today, folks. Many thanks if you made it this far. I'm off to check out Google News. So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye.